Hello, Khalid. Am I audible?
Good morning, everyone. I'm glad to see my colleagues, Aprijita and others there. So shall we start, Aprijita?
Sure, we can start. I think we have, if you want, maybe we can give it another 1 minute and then we can start, sir.
Okay, so we'll give another minute and we'll start dot at 11:05.
Sure.
Thank you. Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Build Higher Education webinar. This webinar is conducted as part of the Global Dyslexia Awareness Month in October. And the webinar aims to basically bring awareness in India. The Dyslexia Awareness Month in October is celebrated worldwide, mainly to change the narrative for people with dyslexia to end stigma, and also to showcase that to the world that the amazing things that the individuals with dyslexia can do. So globally, we go red for dyslexia during the month of October. Together with my colleagues at ChangeInkk Foundation, we at the Commonwealth Educational Media Center for Asia, the Regional Center of Commonwealth of Learning, are delighted to take this message across to all educational institutions in India. This online webinar is aimed at higher education institutions, mainly to showcase how various institutions are enabling individuals to do amazing things. Shortly, you will hear from institutions and individuals in India. And in this context, I wish to thank Ms. Suhana Bhutani, Dr. Anusuya Yadav, Dr. A. Chidambaram, Dr. Sampurna Guha, and my dear own colleagues from ChangeInkk Foundation, Ms. Nupur Junjunwala, Ms. Purnita Nambiar, and Ms. Aprajita Singh. Before I share my remarks, let me also thank my own colleagues, Ms. Nabila Atta, Mr. T. Khalid, and Mr. Aflaq Shah of COL-CEMCA, who have been working closely with ChangeInkk for organizing this event today. And I'm glad my other colleagues from COL-CEMCA also joined this event. To the participants, let me assure that the 120-minute deliberations today, where they involve their precious time, will not go waste. They will be able to learn and appreciate, and more importantly, replicate some of the good practices witnessed within India in their own educational institutions. The color red symbolizes something drastic, isn't it? In the context of education, it could well be corrections, disapprovals, highlighting mistakes, or even reprimanding. Red also embodies the duality of human emotions and experiences. It represents both love and anger, passion and violence, highlighting the complex nature of human existence. However, the changing narrative of going red for dyslexia is to ensure that the very same color red symbolizes courage, determination, confidence, strength, action, power, dominance, and above all, love. You'll get to hear from my colleagues the meaning of going red for dyslexia in the context of today's webinar very shortly. The higher education institutional landscape in India, where more than 40 million learners are enrolled today, for this landscape, it becomes very clear that every faculty member should be able to celebrate diversity and become inclusive. Not only the faculty member, every teaching, non-teaching, and technical staff within the tertiary system should be able to celebrate diversity and become inclusive. So the idea of going red in each of the 1100 plus universities, 45,000 plus affiliated colleges, and the other 10,000 plus tertiary institutions is to basically celebrate the achievements and the potentials of people with dyslexia. The International Dyslexia Association actually and literally celebrates this event during this month, and it spreads the red carpet. It literally spreads the red carpet for a celebrity walk, what they call global soiree, on the 17th of this month for a 24-hour-long fundraising event. There will also be something called lip sync battle to challenge people to go beyond the lip service paid to the issue. There is a need for a major awareness campaign in India in all forms of specific learning disabilities or disorders, what they would call, or should we say specific learning special abilities. Apart from dyslexia, we do recognize dysgraphia, dyscalculia, auditory processing disorder, language processing disorder, visual perpetual and visual motor deficit, developmental language disorder, non-verbal learning disorder, and so on. It is important for all faculty members, some 1.5 million of those in India, to be able to do the following. First, recognize that SLD is there in reality. Understand that persons with specific learning disabilities or SLD do not often make it to the tertiary education system. And we need to accept that offering access to persons with specific learning disabilities is a responsibility and a mandate, not an option. We need to make special efforts to admit them and make it easier for them to be included in the mainstream education. And we need to ensure that the persons with specific learning disabilities are identified and there is no stigma attached to the disorder. Rather, the principles of New Red, courage, power, love, everything should be applied. And we need to develop capabilities in the higher education institutions to accommodate persons with specific learning disabilities and make it easier for them to remain in the mainstream rather than elbowing them out and isolating them. And we need to use various pedagogical techniques and approaches to cater to their needs. And finally, with the advent of technological tools and techniques, we need to be able to offer accessibility solutions to them. Indian Rights with Persons with Disability 2016 Act, it's a response to by the Indian policymakers to the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, and India ratified it in 2007. And the Act is effective since 15 June 2017. On the technology front, the Indian government has successfully undertaken a variety of steps to adhere to the conditions laid out in the law. Whereas in the education institutions, we have just made the beginning. It is important for the education institutions to make their institution more accessible by providing infrastructure, committing to train their teachers to deal with persons with dyslexia and other specific learning disabilities, and by ensuring the participation of persons with disability in an inclusive and equitable manner. As I mentioned, it's not a choice or an option, it's a mandate by law. I'm glad that ChangeInkk Foundation has taken leadership position to assist the Ministry of Education to fulfill the above mandate in our nation. And they are going global in partnership with the Commonwealth Educational Media Center for Asia. And during this week and next week, we'll be doing similar webinars in other parts of the world as well. So once again, I welcome all the participants to this exciting 2 hours of webinar, where we'll be dealing with all sorts of issues around SLD, but more than anything, celebrating and showcasing excellence today. On behalf of ChangeInkk Foundation and the Commonwealth Educational Media Center for Asia, I welcome one and all for this webinar. Thank you. And with this, I want to hand over to my colleague, Ms. Aprajita Singh, who is representing the ChangeInkk Foundation, who would take forward this day's session. Thank you. Aprajita, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. It was very, very wonderful how you explained the significance of the color red. And just reiterating the same thing, we celebrate October, and this is celebrated globally as the month of dyslexia awareness. And why the red color? A lot of people with learning disabilities throughout their learning journeys have faced a lot of red marks on their copies, right? Redo, incorrect. So the association with the color red has not been very positive. And celebrating this month and signifying it with the color red really helps us just change the association with the color and bring out the color as the color of love, power, confidence, empowerment. And that is why today we all are together and we will try to strengthen our ecosystems, our environments, and make sure that they're more inclusive each and every day. So I'll begin introducing myself. My name is Aprajita. I am representing our organization Change Inc. Change Inc. is a non-for-profit organization that works towards building and strengthening the ecosystem for individuals with learning disabilities. And one of our vertical primarily focuses on higher education institutes. While we have tremendous policies that have been put in place, we work towards strengthening the ecosystem to be able to implement those within their environments. I am somebody with specific learning disability, and that's why I take a lot of pride being associated with this webinar during this month. And in the coming session, what I'll do is that we'll quickly run through understanding at a very high level what policies are there to support individuals with learning disability in higher education ecosystem and what these disabilities are. So the focus is always on understanding a little bit more about disabilities, because no matter how much time you spend understanding them, there's always more to discover, and why miss an opportunity like this to understand further more about them. I'll just share my screen. Okay. So we'll quickly understand how can we unlock the potential of students with learning disabilities. We always have a fixed terminology that you must be, using for a certain set of students in your classrooms, which is very natural. These are invisible in nature. It's very difficult to somehow understand that why a student is being lazy, they're not being so interactive, they're disturbing other students, and this continues in higher education institutes as well. And if you further go a step to understand what the disability is, what are the challenges, what are the strengths, you will be definitely able to support them better. And you will also have a reason to support them. So, all these people that you see currently on your screens, they're very famous faces. We have seen them before, from biologists to Nobel laureates, to artists to entrepreneurs. And one thing that is common putting them together is that they all have specific learning disabilities. And this is as common as 1 in 5 globally. So, out of every 5 people, if we talk about, there's a very high possibility of at least one person to have specific learning disabilities, which means that they're so common, they have been a part of our daily lives. It's just that because of their invisible nature, we've not been able to identify them. And now what we are doing is that we are trying to understand that what is the numbers that we are facing, the challenges that we are facing. It's as high as 200 plus million Indians who live with this disability. Having said so, only less than 10 million Indians are identified, which means people right now also have and are struggling with this disability but might not be aware of it. And the reason that we are here together as representatives of higher education institutes, that this is a very crucial pipeline that connects people, our student, to the larger industry, workforce, research opportunities that push and accelerate the economic opportunity. So we have an element in our classrooms that is key to the acceleration to economic opportunity, but because there's not a lot of awareness, there's not a lot of support that is being devised for these individuals, they might be still struggling. And therefore, we want to get together and unlock their potential. Talking about specific learning disabilities, it's a huge umbrella of neurodiversity, and under which we have people with specific learning disabilities, including dyslexia, dyscalculia, dysgraphia. And one of the most common ways to explain this is that while a lot of us must be using our phones, cell phones, right? And they might be different, right? Their operating systems might be either that of iOS or an Android. While they're performing the same task like texting, calling, surfing the internet, what is very different? The only different thing over there is their operating systems. And therefore, people with specific learning disabilities have a different way in which their brain functions, processes, and learns information. One very, very important thing that we ought to remember is the fact that these people always will have average or above average IQ. It's a lifelong condition. Any disability is a lifelong condition. It is not something that can be cured. But if we work together helping these students understand their challenges, they surely get to learn how to manage this better. And a lot of this can be done by the use of assistive technology. And it's very, very important to diagnose this because this is invisible in nature. It's very, very, very difficult to look at somebody and say, hey, you have a specific learning disability. So we use psychometric analysis for testing this and diagnosing this. Right now on your screens, you can see one of the simulation of how a learning disability might come across, and that is dyslexia. Dyslexia is primarily struggle with language, with reading, writing, pronouncing. There's always a lag. It is as common as 80% of all specific learning disabilities. So anybody with SLD has a very high chance of having dyslexia. This calculus always struggle with maths. It's not the fear of maths. It's struggle with maths where your brain really finds it very difficult to process arithmetic information. It's about present in 5% of the global population. So it is very common. Dysgraphia comes across struggles with fine motor skills, so students will have very illegible writing. They'll find it difficult to do basic fine motor movements like working around apparatus in the lab, tying the shoelaces, buttoning up. These are some of the common challenges that they face. And then moving ahead, these struggles How do they further look like? So right now I discussed what is specific learning disability and what exactly they mean. But when you see students in your classroom, right, it will be more than this. It will be far much more than this. You will have certain students performing really well, okay, orally, they're participating well. There are these students questioning, answering, engaging a lot orally. But when you look at their assignments, when you look at their answer sheets, there's a massive gap. And why is that massive gap over there? While their intelligence prevails, they find it very difficult to translate that in written process. So you'll always find that challenge over there. The self-esteem naturally is impacted because self-advocacy more than often creates a lot of judgment around IQ, around their capability with reading, writing. There's always this question about, oh, you're not able to read and write, but you say you're very smart. So we have to understand that this is a challenge with literacy skills and not intelligence, and this is something that students find very difficult to explain. There can be memory challenges in terms of there are a lot of tasks, deadline, and if there are multiple instructions involved, right, it becomes very, very difficult for them to process this. And they can be overstimulated and they take some time to process any information by reading and writing. And now you have to understand the fact that just transitioning into higher education institutes is a catch. To add to it your disability challenges, things can be very, very overstimulating for you. This is a very, very nice way, I would say, impactful way to understand that if my student in the classroom has specific learning disability struggles, or is it because of, there's a slide in the learning journey, the medium of instruction has changed recently. What exactly is the challenge? So there are three subsets to this triangle. We have to remember that our student at any point can have challenges. Any student in our classroom will have their academics or life skills or emotional well-being impacted at any given time. But if you see these all three are being impacted together, you should know that your student might be at a higher risk of a specific learning disability. And while this is the reason, we also have to focus on why are these dyslexic minds thinking and driving us all forward. This is one of the most beautiful slides. If you see things on your screen right now, either one of them is something that we've been using on daily basis and they've been powering our lives. All of them have been invention of people with dyslexia, and it could be your cars, your phones, your light. And if you go back and realize that when these inventions were made, they were very visionary in nature, right? How they have evolved, how these products, these solutions have evolved. They have powered our imagination. Imagine a disability around reading, writing, and still having people writing wonderful novels, wonderful stories, music, movies. How's this happening? Because their imagination goes beyond their disability. They have generated employment. A lot of these brands that you see on your screens right now have been started by people with dyslexia. They're driving innovation and productivity. The big fours have clearly said that how their technical solution savings have gone up by a boost, the productivity has increased, and how they've optimized their processes. Now, the question is, a mind that cannot process language more than often faces challenges with arithmetic information. How are they able to make such an impact? And this is a very valid question. The answer to this is that dyslexics, they often think differently. E&Y has mapped dyslexic thinking skills and competencies as the skill of future, which all of our higher education institutes are focusing to nourish. And these are skills like visualizing, innovating, communicating, reasoning, looking at the big picture, solving the bigger problems. Something as basic and interesting as A.G. Granville. right? And there's a very famous quote by him which he said that sooner than enough people will be able to see each other through this device that helps them communicate. That was very very visionary of a person to think about these touch screen phones where you can actually see a person, while the product in itself during that time had to be connected between two parties by an agency. So it was very visionary, and these students by default have these skills, and the percentage of what skills come before the other depends on student to student, but they have it, and if we nourish it, they might be the next innovator sitting in our classrooms. Very interestingly, we have focused on the fact that globally, and now even in our country, a lot of universities are focusing on students with SLD because of the future skills that they get with them. Dr. Nicholas Negroponte, he's a person with dyslexia and founder of MIT Media Lab, the One Laptop Per Child Association, and he's been called the father of GPS. He's another visionary person, and he says that dyslexia is so common in MIT among students and faculty that it's called the MIT disease. And these institutes have worked very brilliantly in making sure that the environment is very inclusive. They've put in a lot of processes in place, and so have a lot of our institutes in India. In the next session, we have panelists who will talk and throw more light on how their institutes were able to do so. We need to understand the fact that 80% of dyslexic attributes right now, they focus on the fact that is positive. 40% of the world's self made millionaires are dyslexic. Top 10 companies founded by people with dyslexia contributed to over $1 trillion of the global economy in 2020. This was the pandemic year. Inclusion in companies, okay, could lead to GDP growth by 1.2% annually, which is massive. And it is forecasted that by 2027, 25% of Fortune 500 companies will be actively recruiting these students who are sitting in your classrooms right now. And yet, only 3% believe that dyslexia is a positive trait. 1 in 20 get identified. There's a higher person of them are dropping out of higher education setup and hide their disorders from their employer, the disabilities from their employer. So now the onus falls on us that how can we get these faces, put them together, make sure that the next innovator is coming from our classrooms. How can we strengthen the academic support, on campus support, assistive tech, and a lot of the placement opportunities. Struggle of transition of students in HAI go beyond their learning disability. There's a lot that they have to cope up with, and in terms of disclosure, self advocacy, there's a lot of rejection, isolation they face. Academic life is something which is very difficult for them to cope up because there's a lot of managing they have to do. Before this, in school, if their disability was disclosed, they had a lot of support, right? They were growing in an environment where they had peer support, they had educator support, but here things might be different. They have to start from scratch. So there can be a lot of pressure. There is a risk of self-esteem, overwhelming uh, streaks can be there because of a lot that they have to manage, and we need to support them with this, and by this they can perform much better. The existing regulatory and policy mandates are beautiful. They're very supportive for students with specific learning disability. UGC guidelines, AICT guidelines are in consonance with one another, and they focus on transition support from school to college, graduation to post graduation, providing support throughout admission process through accessible application process, counseling support, need based assessment to make sure that the accommodation given to a student is in sync with the needs of the disability. AICT is on the same lines, supporting and focusing on scholarship and sponsorship of people with disability support. They're also trying to streamline admission process for students with disability. And the very important thing, the transition step, which is the entrance examination between school and higher ed, NTA guidelines are very, very supportive of it. Candidates are able to opt for their own scribe, reader, lab assistant. Candidates can choose online, offline modes. Compensatory time of at least 20 minutes per hour is given, and use of assistive device can be done. And now, if you see, the guidelines are focusing on unlocking their potential and not sticking to traditional manner to enhance the learning journey. So, our policies are very beautifully focusing on the fact that every student should have access to higher education. Their needs should be accommodated without taking away from the rigor of the course, certainly. If the student is able to get past an entrance exam of very high rigor, the student with enough accommodation can also excel further. And this is something that we need to understand. These are mandates. We need to understand that how can we create more inclusive environment, what help do we need. We need to go back and reflect, okay, which process is somewhere where we need more support. And inclusion at leading institutes has been the focus, which we've primarily discussed. And now it's happening even in our country with the support of amazing laws and regulation. The disability is just 8 years old, as we say. The RPWD Act 2016 recognized this formally, and NEP 2020 supported the act by saying that yes, each and every student with without disability needs to have access to equitable education. And the pillars of support will focus on admissions, academic support, on campus support, access to resources, and employment opportunity. So, if you see over here, the pillars of support go from the very first stage of entering the institute till you exit the institute for another opportunity. It could be a job, could be research, could be entrepreneurship, innovation, any of that, but the support has to grow through all these pillars. If you give it in one or two of these, there'll be a massive gap that a student will not be able to bridge, and therefore it becomes very important to make sure that the support being provided is consistent. And that's all we have from our end. It gives me a lot of pleasure now to have institutes being represented on our panel today that will talk in detail about what is it that they are doing, how did they start their journey, and what can we take away and learn from them. I will invite my colleague Anshika to introduce the panels before we jump into asking a lot of questions to our panelists. Over to you, Anshika.
Thank you so much, Aprajita, for sharing the insights on the importance of inclusion in higher education institutions. So now we are honored to welcome Dr. A. Chidambaram, professor at the Center for Study of Social Exclusion and Inclusion Policies at Pondicherry University, as a panelist for our Build Inclusive Higher Education webinar. With a dedicated focus on addressing social inequalities and promoting inclusive policies, Dr. Chidambaram has significantly contributed to research and teaching in the field of human rights. His expertise in the intersection of social justice and education makes him a vital voice in today's discussion. We look forward to his insights on fostering inclusivity in higher education. Also, we have with us Dr. Sampurna Guha, Assistant Professor at the Amity Institute of Rehabilitation Sciences. Welcome, ma'am. With a strong focus on special education and intellectual disabilities, Dr. Guha is a certified rehabilitation professional and a master trainer for pre-service educators. She has published numerous research papers and has a keen interest in assistive technologies, value education, and wellness. We look forward to her insights on promoting inclusivity in higher education. Over to you, sir and ma'am.
There's no tower.
Thank
Tower
you,
is there.
Anika.
Here, somewhat
Just
better.
quickly introducing Chitambaram sir has been a part of a couple of trainings that we have done, and he's somebody who comes with immense knowledge about a lot of accommodations and policies that exist around disability. So we are very delighted to welcome you, sir. Sir, to begin with, if you can just quickly introduce what your institute has been doing in terms of inclusion of students with disability.
Yeah, thank you, Aparajita, and others, those who are leading this entire webinar. First of all, I'd like to thank the organizer. It's a beautiful webinar you are organized today to spread awareness and more than that, to know about each other and what are the best practice they do in their respective institutions. I am Dr. Chidambaram, Associate Professor and Center for Study of Social Exclusion and Inclusive Policy, and the coordinator of HEPSON. That's more proud to say, like, no, I am a coordinator for higher education for person with special need. It's a center we established from 2010 onwards. This center is specifically focusing more on identifying and including the children with disabilities in our higher learning institutions. Okay, so here Pondicherry University is a pioneer institution, is implementing various welfare schemes for betterment of person with disability in general, particular to a learning disability also. So I am telling learning disability. Learning disability has been introduced in the year 2016. Prior to that, also the students, those who are coming with the special needs in terms of understanding their special concept or something like that. Without this act, without recognizing them, they are this disabled category. But we have a remedial classes for them and tutorial classes we have organized in our unit, and we try to equip them with their understanding their concept. For that, we have trained from 2010. But good things, 2016 onwards, have been recognized as a part of the disability umbrella terms. Then we will be more comfortable to providing the similar facilities to specific learning disability also. So here, I told you, we established HEPSON unit. Actually, this is a central government UGC scheme. All the higher learning institutions supposed to start the HEPSON unit in their respective institutions. So we applied the project and got it, and they are given establishment initial amount of established unit. Based on that, we have established the unit. There, what we are doing, softwares and hardwares will be provided to the specific learning disabled, especially the softwares are being installed for separate exclusive system and given to them. That's the one we have been doing. After attending the training program, what we did in the field of disability, especially the learning disability, that I will try to narrow down and try to explain to you. That I told you already. I told you that we are the first institution in India providing completely free education to persons with disabilities, including boarding and lodging, considering their economic conditions. We have conducted a survey in entire Tamil Nadu. The people, those who are selling small vendors, so those who are involving selling and begging in trains, especially the disabled people, we have conducted a survey. Based on the survey we presented before our Vice Chancellor, then there we have seen that after 10th and 12th standard, the people, those who studied in special schools, especially visually challenged and hearing impaired children, after that they are not able to pursue their higher education because there is no special education are provided. Special education in the sense, special education, you are well aware that there's a residential support service will be provided within the campus. Accommodation, food, and educations are given. So in higher learning institution, there is no such facilities are there. For that, they need to go to welfare hostel and they need to travel a lot of distance. Then they need to pursue their education. So these people not able to continue their education because of this lack of accommodation facilities. So they're obviously they will enter into the some job market, or they'll be going to religious places and public bus stand and railway stations to involve themselves into earning. So this was a thing we have found. Then we have said our university administration. So we need to provide, because of their economic condition, they are not able to pursue their higher education. Something to be done for them. Then immediately our Vice Chancellor came out. There is no proper schemes for enabling the disabled to providing free education. But our Vice Chancellor came forward. Then they announced completely free education, starting from application to receiving their PhD degree. That was schemes announced. For that, our MSAE and UGC also appreciated their effort. And MSAE given award, Best Institution Role Model Award in 2011. And UGC sent a circular to all colleges and universities to follow the footsteps of Pondicherry University. That is a landmark what we have created in the field of disability for general. So after it has been started going smoothly, and initially while I joined the institution in 2009. So at that time only the 4 students with special needs are be studying. Special needs in the sense only that's visual, hearing, and locomotor disability. So learning disabilities were not there in that mandate. So these 3 also out of 3 type of major disability, only 4 to 7 students with disabilities are studying. Their overall strength is 7,000 of normal students are there. So then I understood that no, government is giving 3% reservation based on 1995 Act. Why, if you look into that, around 200 students supposed to study in university, why only 4 students are studying? Then I taken the survey and study that. That was the reason we are introducing free education. Then after that, that has been continued. Now it has started increasing. More than 100 students with disabilities are studying in our universities. Visible disability. What I'm talking about, visible disabilities are crossing 100 plus. So after attending the training program, we came to our campus and we discussed this matter into the administration, authorities, and vice chancellor. Then we requested them to allow us to conducting a sensitization program to the faculties, because of invisible disabilities, no one ready to disclose their limitations. What is their problems? So in order to educating the students, those who are pursuing their higher educations, first thing is we want to collect some information from the faculty members. So we got a permission. We requested the permission from administration to allow us to conducting the program for the faculty members to tell about this learning, the issues related to learning disabilities and stigma attached with them, and how to identify the learning disables, how to encourage them to come out from their revealing their disclosing their identity. For that, what to be done? In that way, we thought of to train that faculty members. They are given permission. They ask us to wait for until that and integrated course admissions are over. So actually, that admissions started the last week of September. It will be going up to this month. So hopefully, like last week of October, we are planning to have all the HODs and the faculty member interaction session. There we will invite the expert in the same field. We'll start out to addressing the gathering and educating sensitizing the faculty members related to the learning disabilities. That's the one what we are planning now. Then another thing, we are spreading every Friday. We are having an online webinar with our own disabled students with disability in our campus. There we are telling, like, if you somebody are finding difficulties for enrolling, coping in the educations, ask them to also attend this training program, because that they have to come out. First thing is they need to accept they have some limitations. If they're accepting the limitation and coming with yes, there are some problems, we cannot help out. For that, you just group them. You try to identify them. You try to spread this message in your respective hostels. There is a unit is there established for our betterment. That's called HEPSON unit. In that HEPSON unit, all 21 types of disabilities or can avail the benefits of free educations. And not only for free educations, and any kind of assistance that they need. Take example, like some software, they may not be aware about those softwares. Those software will enabling them to breaking their paragraph into sentence and making them more interesting about reading the sentence. Many more things can be done with the support of software. Through that, they could have acquired their knowledge. And those kind of information you could have share it in the group, and you could tell them if anyone not able to cope up their educations. Those people also you tell them to come and attend our webinar. So that also we have initiated. So every Friday we have been going 7 to 8, 1 hour in the evening. Late in the evening we are having the webinar. For last 4 weeks we have been doing the webinar. Prior to that, every Sunday between 7 to 9 p.m. Almost yesterday, that 130th week webinar we are conducted. This is purely for as part of our community extension activities. we have been doing, and there we brought under more than 70 disabled people organization and NGOs under one umbrella. So we have been doing every Sunday between 7 to 9 o'clock. Different topic we'll be discussing. There also we 1 week we discuss about specific learning disability that we discuss. The important thing is we are educating this disabled people organizations and NGOs to identify their people in their area, and you could refer them. There is a free education given in Pondicherry University. You could refer them and you let them to come and get their benefit. But here, even despite of all our efforts, only 100 plus students have been joining. Now, close to 100. Still, we have like if we put together like 5% reservation, so almost 350 students can be enrolled in our university itself. So that was not there. Another thing is identification is a big problem we are facing now. That also we want to systematically we need to work for that, and we thought of to have some screening the movies related to different abilities of the people with those who are achievers with learning disability. That also we thought of to screen those movies, but in the administration we have sensitized them. Anyone come with the learning disability, you just ensure them if they are really in need of free education, accommodation, free education, that we will provide. That if they're economically they're backward and they want to the kind of facilities, that also we will ready to provide. And we need to admit in case they're not qualified with their minimum marks of the secured the minimum score of this one also you need to be accommodated if they're mentioning under the disability, under the specific learning disability. They mentioned that to be given. They need not to only looking after whether they have visible disability or not. That kind of orientation given. So we have admitted people, but thing is except one person, none of them are come with the specific learning disability certificate. And that one person, one individual also came with the certificate. That's for only for temporary. The certificate he came. Then we referred them to nearby National Institute for Empowerment of Persons with Multiple Disability. There he went for 2-3 assessment. There they given because of the aging and other things. They're given permanent disabilities, specific learning disabilities under permanent certificate they're given. So based on that, that persons are availing free education. He actually is a PhD scholar. He's getting free educations, even though he's getting JRF. We are providing free education. We are making him to spread this awareness the entire campus. We just tell them about this specific learning disability. That is also initiative we have proposed. So similar to kind of this kind of things have been initiated. So what we are thinking about it, we need to go for a systematic screening of these students, especially those who are over academic scores. Those people we thought of to collect the data. Then those people will be invited, not for disclosing their marks. So we are going to invite them, and we are going to conduct some some kind of competition for drawing competition, some other competitions to engage them, and we are going to import them about this specific learning disability, whether they have any difficulties come across these aspects. Then it is a place for you to come and approach. There, that also we are thinking about it. So these are the things what we have discussed with the administration. The administration also given approval to have a program. Continuously, we have been doing similar various program. 2 weeks before 29th and 30th, we have conducted a 2 days workshop for spinal cord injuries we have conducted in our campus. That is for hands-on training related to E-Seva Center. There is a center, we are first time, we are given the training program for 2 days. Specific targeted audience we have been doing. Similar to that, we want to do a specific program for specific learning disability also. Once we are identification are done, then definitely there will be, we plan to do that. Unfortunately, what is happening here? There is no specific fund allocations are there. That's why even though we have many ideas, we are not able to, even if you are inviting this teachers and faculty member for 2 to 3 hours of screening the movie and making the people to attend other things, then minimum, of course, venue and other things are there, but minimum expenditure need to be bad. So those kind of things, for that only we have been waiting for administration approval. Once that has come, then automatically we'll take it into that level. Another one I plan to make on request to you. What I told you that Friday review, Friday online discussion with the students and the Sunday program. If anybody interested to talk about this one, especially in Sunday program, we'll be doing on Tamil only. But if you are making the English presentation also, we will translate. Obviously, even I need to learn about more on specific learning disability. I know little about this specific learning disability and other things, but our nature of work is something different. I need to spend time and you need to equip about the subject. For that, if any experts are volunteer, that also I could have explored that. Any one of the Sunday, I could have engaged your things. This is will enabling the community people to come to higher learning institute. For that, it will be helpful. So these are the things
Definitely,
we are.
sir.
Yeah,
Yes.
these are things we are taking. Anything else? If you ask some questions, then I will do it.
Sure. Sir, thank you so much to explain things in detail. I think a couple of takeaways from us is that it's very important to understand the gap that is there because of which your students with PWD are not able to transition to your institute and start working on that because these will keep changing from time to time, from location to location. And one thing that I can focus on the fact that why the university has done so well in terms of their support is that they have been consistent. The inclusion is a consistent element. It's not something that you can get in and then take it out and then again get it in. It's as consistent as anything which adds to the pillar to the ecosystem of inclusion, which the university has done very well. And nonetheless, I will want to reiterate the fact that the person who's leading it right now, sir, has so much passion to not only just create systems but also understand about the disability more and more. The more you understand about the disability, the more purposefully can you overcome the challenges of students with these disability. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for taking your time out and explaining. I think there'll be a Q&A session, so if somebody from the audience has a question, we will request you to answer that. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Moving
Thank you.
to Dr. Guha over here. Before she starts with her
I want
presentation,
to
we
comment on
would
the view.
want to reiterate the fact that the university has been one that we've interacted with a lot of students with specific learning disabilities, and trust me, we've heard a lot of stories that how the university agreed with the fact that hey, we don't know in what ways can the challenges be overcome for your disability right now, but as you guide us we will create those support structures and accommodation. And a lot of students have gone and selected your university as their colleges to pursue their higher education because of the support with open arms that your university was ready to provide. And that has been what we have gathered from a lot of the journeys of students who are right now currently pursuing their graduation from your institute. So many congratulations to you for that, for being so open, for being ready to create systems from scratch because there's a mandate to do so and not shying away from any of it. So, ma'am, over to you. We will have your presentation on the screen.
Thank you so much, dear Miss Aprajita. I hope I'm audible to all of you.
Yes, yes, you are.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Before I begin, first, definitely a big thanks to ChangeInkk and COL-CEMCA for having me over here. It's a great opportunity, a wonderful opportunity to not only present and share the experiences of our university and how we are catering to children with or learners with disability, but also to learn about from the experiences of other universities. It was wonderful listening to Dr. Chidambaram sir, and of course to the director COL-CEMCA. Sir laid the very foundation of today's important, impactful panel discussion, and he has elaborated on the very need of organizing such initiatives. A big congratulations to ChangeInkk and COL-CEMCA for organizing this event. I am Dr. Sampurna Guha from Amity Institute of Rehabilitation Sciences, Amity University, Uttar Pradesh, and it's wonderful listening to youngsters and especially, ambassadors and disability advocates like Miss Aprajita herself, and how she, told all of us that she's having a specific condition and how she overcome that particular challenges which comes with every condition. So Miss Aprajita, a great, a clap for you, a high five for you for overcoming your challenge and being a motivation for every learner, for every parent, and for every teacher who is out there listening to us today. Aprajita, if you can help me share the screen, will that be okay? Or should I try from my end once?
You can share from your end.
Okay,
No, yeah, you
sure.
can just share it to be visible to all.
Okay, sure, Aprajita. Then I'll try to put my screen. I'll make it full screen. I hope it's visible, Aprajita.
Yes, it is.
Okay. So before I begin, um, it's very important and crucial to talk about inclusiveness in higher education. We're celebrating this awareness. We are, in fact, everybody spoke important of color red and how there are red marks in every notebook. So that is very important that we carry it on and we learn from such mistakes, that do not put a red mark on a student's notebook, because that can be demotivating for a learner. In fact, encouraging words, support, and a very holistic system will do much better, in terms of supporting the learner than putting a very highlighted red mark on the notebook indicating that yes, you have made an error. In special education, we always say identify the strengths of the student and help the student overcome the weaknesses. So when we are highlighting the marks with red and we're making, highlighting the errors of the teacher, we love to do so. We write in red that this is not correct, this is incorrect. Somewhere it impacts the very socio-economic build of the student and the very socio-emotional development of the learner. So it's very important and it's very good that COL-CEMCA and ChangeInkk highlighted the importance of color red being incorporated in dyslexia awareness, and I congratulate the team for the same. Now, before I begin with how our institute, how our university, Amity University, Uttar Pradesh, is promoting inclusiveness in higher education, I would definitely want to uh, stress on the fact that initially when the term inclusion started and the term inclusive education came into being, it was more used for school level education, for the primary level, for the foundational levels. Slowly, when learners, they started coming up and they started doing well and they wanted to transition from school to higher education level, then of course the national agencies, the international agencies, the organizations, they all stood up and they took notice and they said that yes, we want proper mechanism in place that will help to promote and strengthen inclusiveness in higher education. So we have UGC guidelines, wonderful guidelines to support us, and institutions and universities like Amity have, from the very beginning, even before the guidelines came forward, have always tried our best to support learners with different needs, learners with diversity. Higher education is all about, gaining a specialization, developing rational thinking, developing critical thinking. So students and learners with diversity also have a right to gain higher education, to gain opportunities for higher education. As Chidambaram sir rightly pointed out, the HEPSIN, which is there, higher education promotion cells, which are there in different universities, and the UGC mandate also says teacher education preparation in special education. So keeping in mind all these guidelines, we at Amity University are taking a lot of proactive steps to support learners with disability, learners with diversity. In fact, it is very important that before we start providing them support, we recognize the disability, we accept the special need or the diversity which is there in the learner. We help the learner also to accept the same, and then provide services based on their unique needs. A compatibility has to be established between what the university can give and between what the learner requires in terms of infrastructure, in terms of support staff, in terms of the entire collaborative learning atmosphere which is present in the university, and then support inclusion and remove exclusion from all levels. So keeping these points in mind, I'll quickly run down my presentation so that we are within time to take up the questions also. Well, our motto at Amity University, Uttar Pradesh is recognize diversity, accept diversity, promote equality and equity, and thereby promote true and full inclusion. So this is the motto with which we function at Amity University, Uttar Pradesh, and I represent Amity University, Uttar Pradesh today. That is a wonderful honor that I'm having today, courtesy ChangeInkk and COL-CEMCA. And also, I belong to the Amity Institute of Rehabilitation Sciences, which is a specific department within Amity University, Uttar Pradesh, catering to the needs of learners with disability, because we are basically a teacher training institution. We are master trainers. I myself am a master trainer who is training teachers who are wanting to opt for special education, who are basically special educators, who are currently pre-service and will be in service when they join their service. So how to teach children with disabilities, how to teach students with diversities is what our specialization is all about. So inclusion in higher education, what we do and how we do at Amity University. Let me take you on a journey on what we do and how we do it. In fact, there is a complete hand-holding which is provided to each and every candidate, including candidates with disability, with diversity, who come to our campus. And this hand-holding is in a very phase-wise manner, right from the admission process till the completion of the course. So during the admission process, once the child takes admission, during the academic progression, once the child progresses through the academics, during the curriculum transaction, then accessibility within campus, that is in terms of infrastructure, in terms of mobility, in terms of various facilities, then also support for co-curricular activities and other events which a student with diversity wants to participate in, and support in the library and through learning resources. So I will be trying to present all this gamut of services that we provide for learners with disability at Amity University, Uttar Pradesh, taking all of you on a step-by-step journey. Let us discuss first the admission process. So as I mentioned, complete hand-holding is provided to the candidates who come into our campus. The campus is very disability-friendly. There's infrastructural accessibility, physical accessibility, social accessibility. So we have made our campus very accessible to learners with disability, whether it's a learner with physical or a cognitive or a sensory disability. We have support services for all in place. The candidate with disability is then attached with an admission counselor who supports the candidate at each and every stage of the admission process, because the admission process can be very overwhelming for many learners. They may have, especially learners with a learning disability, they have trouble in understanding where to upload, what to upload, how to upload their documents, because our admission is online process. So there are a lot of difficulties which they face. Their parents are tensed and stressed out. So to ease the process of admission into a higher education institution, we attach them to an admission counselor. This is the what we do. Then we have a disability admission panel, which is part of the Equal Opportunity Cell, again a part of HEPSEN in our university, which screens cases with disability during the admission process. So once the student declares that I have a disability, the panel takes over and then they screen the cases. And there is a one-to-one meeting which happens. It can be arranged online or offline based on the convenience of the candidate and the parents. And a meeting is held between the panel members and the candidate along with the parents. The interaction happens wherein our university tries to understand that what are the specific challenges faced by this candidate who wants to take admission. What are his or her strengths? What are his or her weaknesses? So we try to provide a very user friendly and a very icebreaker kind of a session where the candidate opens up and tells about his or her strengths, his or her weaknesses, deficit areas, challenges, what kind of support they took or they took a help in from at school level, and what kind of expectations they have from the university. So this panel comprises of the dean student welfare, the various HOIs of different institutions, especially the institution where the candidate wants to take admission in. We have a group of counselors sitting with us. We have the student welfare officer sitting with us. So everybody is a part of this panel, and we try to make this interaction very, very friendly and very, very non-intimidating, so the candidate is able to himself or herself come out with their weakness or strength or deficit areas. Then accordingly, decision is taken regarding the kind of support services which the student will require during his or her academic journey in Amity, how the services will be provided, how the student will be supported. So decisions regarding all these are taken keeping in mind the unique needs of the particular candidate. We have a lot of cells in our university. Our equity and equality cells are there, which are under different terminologies. We have the equal opportunity cell, we have the diversity and inclusion policy cell, and we have the unified club. Here, definitely, I want to reiterate and want to bring to everybody's notice that Unified Club is a special club which is dedicated to the extracurricular and the co-curricular activities in which students with diversity, they participate. So we not only provide support in the academic area, but we also provide support in the co-curricular and the extracurricular areas, because in our university, we believe in holistic development of every learner, whoever comes to our campus. Now, support which is given during academic progression. As you can see on the screen, we provide academic accommodations to the learners. As I told you, I belong to the special education field, and we always train our teacher trainees to provide curriculum adaptations in 9 different areas. These are input, output, support, difficulty, participation, time, alternate goals, substitute curriculum if required, and the quantity of work or the quantity of output provided by the students. So these are not just theoretical aspects that you can read in any book once you open the chapter of curriculum adaptations, accommodations, and modifications, but these are actual practices which happen in Amity University, and our department and our university provides support in form of these different adaptations and accommodations. If the learner requires learning resources in different formats, be it braille, be it recordings of the classroom teaching, or be it large print material for the low vision candidates, we provide them to the candidate either before or after the lecture, depending on his or her requirement. And even our teachers know basic sign language, which helps them to support learners with diverse needs who come to the classroom. So curriculum is made accessible, teaching and learning systems are made accessible, and we have made even the examination and the assessment system accessible, because without examination, our education system doesn't allow or doesn't promote the child to the next grade, especially in the higher education institutions. And examinations are very tenseful and stressful moments for learners, especially learners with diverse needs. So we have alternate examination methods wherever the Board of Studies permits. We provide extra time to all learners with difficulties. We provide frequent breaks in between. We also provide scribe and reader support to whichever child demands for the same, based on the principle of reasonable accommodation. Moving on to the support during special education, we have a term called universal design for learning. In fact, this term originated from universal design, which is based in architectural arena, because earlier the architectural spaces were made universally designed for everybody. So when we say a particular space is universally designed, we do not mean that it's meant for a particular specific person. It's meant for everybody, be it a person without disability, be it a person with disability, be it a person with a temporary disability, for example, a person having fracture, and be it a person who is having old age, or who is a pregnant woman. So universal designs are for everybody. Everybody can make huge benefit out of it. The best example is a ramp. You and me can also use a ramp. A person with locomotor disability also makes use of a ramp. A person with age, a person also makes use of a ramp. A pregnant woman can also make use of a ramp and reach a higher altitude safely. So similarly, in learning also, we have universal design for learning, where we have three principles: principles of reasonable accommodations, principle of multiple representation, multiple engagements, and multiple activities for the student. So the input given to the learner in the classroom is varied based on the learner's requirements. A student may require visual learning method, some student may require auditory learning method, some student may require tactile or kinesthetic learning method. So we have multiple sensory modes with which we cater to the learners in our university within the classrooms. We provide visual, we provide auditory, we provide kinesthetic, we provide tactile learning systems based on the students' requirements. In our university, we also have a very unique and very supportive system known as the mentor-mentee support system. In fact, it is a 4-tier system. Why I call it 4-tier? Because there is a faculty mentor. Every candidate who gets admission has a faculty mentor from his or her department who knows the child in and out, who knows the student in and out, who knows okay, these are the strengths of the child, and this is where the child has deficit areas. The child is most comfortable with that faculty, and that is the faculty mentor. Apart from the faculty mentor, every candidate's parent automatically becomes the parent mentor. And we have 1:1 sessions with the parent mentor, the faculty mentor. Regular updates are given to the parent mentor so that they know how the child is progressing, and they are not at a loss to know what is happening with my child in the higher education institutions. Then we have industry mentors who guide the student once they are ready to graduate out of the university and move on into the workplace arena. As respected Chidambaram sir was mentioning, that there are very less employable opportunities for students with diversities. Especially a network is required, a support system is required. So we provide that in Amity. And then there's an alumni mentor. Students who have already passed out from Amity University, they act as the mentor for the student. And apart from that, in the classrooms, we have a peer buddy system where support is provided by the classmates. Sensitization of staff and teaching faculty is very important. And in Amity University, we hold regular workshops, regular conferences, professional development programs, guest lectures, awareness drives, so that sensitization can happen at various levels. Not only for the staff, but also for the supporting staff, the cleaning ayahs, the library personnel, and even the security personnel. They need to be aware that, okay, these are students with special needs, and these are the specific challenges which may come up once they enter the campus. So everybody is sensitized, and we celebrate disability awareness days, be it dyslexia day, or be it autism awareness, or recently we celebrated the autism awareness and the cerebral palsy day also. Just last week we celebrated that. So all these awareness programs play a huge role in sensitizing not only the students, the peers, the parents, but also the entire support staff in the university. For mobility within the campus, we have a lot of provisions which are all barrier-free, environment-based. We have elevators, we have high quality lifts for the students with disabilities. In terms of physical accessibility, we have physically accessible washrooms. We have specific designated classrooms with wide corridors, and where switches are at a lower range for even for a wheelchair user to easily access them and press them. Even the laboratory shelves are a lower height to promote accessibility within laboratories. Simple steps can go a long way. As Ms. Aprajita was mentioning, inclusion is always possible through consistency. Then we have a lot of ramps and wheelchairs throughout our university campus. So if ever you get a chance to visit our Amity University, Uttar Pradesh, Noida sector 125 campus, you will see it is a sprawling area with lot of ramps, and all the ramps are at a proper designated height. I've seen in many places the ramps are there, but they may be very steep. So that becomes very difficult for wheelchair users or for other students with disabilities to walk on it or go down from it. Here we have proper ramps with a proper specification wise built, and we have wheelchair support, and we also have battery powered electric vehicles for supporting movement of candidates within the campus. So all students can make use of it, and it is free for usage for all. And there are signages all across our campus, and all these signages are on high contrast, yellow on black or black on yellow, so that even persons with low vision can see it, and they are guided on where to go, which block, where is the cafeteria, where is the auditorium. So everything is explained. They need not be dependent on a guide except when they're visually impaired and they have a sighted guide with them. On other cases, they are totally independent to move within the campus on their own. We have braille numbers and braille panels on our lifts, so that even visually impaired students can touch it, feel it, and then operate the lift on their own. Of course, there are supervisors to view their safety, but we have braille number panels. When we have proper printed do's and don'ts, and we have emergency helplines for all, Amity has a very dedicated Amity Counseling and Guidance Center, which provides psychotherapy, cognitive based therapy, CBT as we call it, for students with disabilities. Dedicated medical center which provides 24-hour support, and our learning resources, especially for students with dyslexia. We have the learning management system where the teacher uploads all the PowerPoints, all the PDFs with highlights for the students wherever required. We have screen reader support. We have scan and read devices within our institution. We have braille books. We have UGC recognized distance and online mode courses also, in case a student with disability wants to do an online course. We have speakers within the classroom, and all the teachers make accessible PowerPoints for the students. The library is equipped with state-of-the-art elevators. There are guided tours and support system in case a student wants to issue books. Fully mechanized process, and we have separate seating arrangement for Divyang. Overall, quickly winding up because I know we're running out of time. So students need to declare if they have a disability, and we sensitize students so they come and declare that yes, I have a problem, so that we can support them accordingly. And we are following all the measures as per the UGC guideline. So over to you, Miss Aprajita. I hope I did not overtake my time.
No, no, ma'am, not at all. Thank you so much for explaining this in detail, visually representing it for us. And there's a lot for a lot of our participants and us to learn, that if you approach this in a holistic, systemic manner, one thing that we can take for granted is that it's not only going to assist people with disability, but it's going to assist all. So by default, it will enhance the learning journey of all participants on the institutes and even the educators. So we need to make sure that inclusion is not one of agendas that we are focusing on, but it's a very important constituent of creating a solid institute to make sure that you are churning out the next innovators, unlocking the potential of all your learners, and giving them the best of the opportunity that they have and nourish their skills. So that is very, very important for us to know. We would express our gratitude for explaining everything to us in so much detail and helping us understand that how you can work across participants, members of an institute, be it students, be it the facilitators, be it other stakeholders, and focus on them with the inclusion perspective. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your time. Thank you for being with us. We will just have our another student journey before we jump into questions from our participants. So we will request for your patience to be with us on the call. Thank you. Thank you so much. Over to Anshika to introduce our next panelist.
Okay, so thank you so much, ma'am and sir, for sharing the best practices in so much detail. Now I'm really pleased to welcome Suhana Bhutani. She's a third year MBBS student in Delhi, and she was diagnosed with dyslexia in the first grade. And overcoming academic challenges through determination and family support, she developed a deep appreciation for diverse learning processes. Passionate about becoming a compassionate doctor, Suhana is dedicated to advocating for others with learning differences and delivering patient centric care. Her academic journey reflects resilience and self advocacy as she develops strategies tailored to her strengths. Suhana is committed to using her personal experiences to promote inclusivity in healthcare and support neurodiversity throughout her medical career. Over to you, Suhana, and a very warm welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. So I am Suhana and I'm currently in my third year in a medical college in Delhi itself. And my journey to getting into a higher education has been a little difficult because I didn't score after I got my NEET results, I had to get tested so that I have a benchmark of 30% disability, 33% disability to get the UDID. And a lot of hospitals in Delhi don't have clinical psychologists to do the assessment. Um, and that was a big issue because I had to go to Chandigarh during my counseling period to get the certificate issuement. And the problem with this is that I got my UDID from RML because they had a clinical psychologist. But when I had to get certified for getting into college, which is the certificate of disability for MBBS, that couldn't be issued by RML because of their certain guidelines. They had listed certain hospitals from which you could only get the certificate from. So in midst of my counseling, I had to go all the way to Chandigarh and get my the certificate issued, and which was a lot of inconvenience because I don't know when the counseling will start, or I don't know how fast I'll need to upload the certificate online. So I remember when I had gone to Chandigarh, the psychiatrist, in fact, over there told me that I might be faking it because the assessment they used to assess me, it was not according to my age bracket. They were telling me to read stuff which was very easy and I've studied in English medium all my till my 12th grade, so it was especially the English side of it was very easy. And I remember because I had taken a scribe and I had certificates for the scribe and I had my UDID intact. Then they were convinced that okay, I have a disability, and they issued the certificate for me, and which I was able to avail for the 5% PWD quota. And even in my college, when I was giving my first professional examinations, um, my college did not know that whether I could get extra time or a scribe. And I remember I went to the academic registrar. He was very supportive, he was very nice. That's one of the reasons why I could get extra time because he went out of his way to email the university to ask whether a person who has a learning disability and who is in like MBBS whether they can even get extra time. And because of his aggressive nature and again calling the university, I was able to get 1 hour extra for my 3 hour paper. But I only get extra time during my university papers or during my pre-professional examinations. I don't get them for all my exams. Um, and I was unable to avail for the scribe, and I did not emphasize a lot on it also. If I think I would have gotten it. But I think along the way, if you find supportive people, you are able to um, guide, like they help and guide you whether to what you can get or what you can't. And when it comes to my professors, first year was very difficult because there were teachers who were not accepting to like whether like I, there were teachers who were very supportive and who understood, who even took out time to like explain stuff to me, who took extra who were ready to take extra classes if I didn't understand anything. But also there were teachers who were very mean to me, who said that maybe if I have such a thing, I shouldn't be here itself, which was very disheartening because it takes so much effort to come here and reach where I am. And then them saying this, being people who've studied uh, like uh, like neurodiversity as subjects in physiology and how the brain works. And currently, I'm in my third year and I'm very happy. And I'm well adjusted into my environment, and I'm getting extra time, which I'm very well adjusted to. In fact, in my last professional exams, I even scored an 80% aggregate in all my subjects. So that's my journey. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sahana, for sharing your journey. And let me bring it to everybody's focus that her journey is one that fills me with the maximum pride. It's really, really heartening to see her stepping from first year to the third year. So, Hannah, I think one thing which is very, very crucial for us to know from you and for all our participants, because we have members from higher education institute, is that what would be your suggestion as a person who spent last 3 years as a student that they can do when it comes to not only academics but other than academics to support students with specific learning disabilities. So, what would your suggestion be to an institute, different departments maybe of the institute?
I personally feel there should be a separate society of professors who should be associated with children with disability, because there is no point of access. Like I was myself running again and again to the academic registrar to ask him, can you please do this for me? Can you please uh, talk to the university and ask them if I can get extra time. But I feel if there are people who are already appointed who take care of certain things, then it's more like streamlined. Then you don't have to like run after people when it's not even their job. So if they could like make a separate cell of people who are responsible for um, probably looking into certain things.
Thank you for highlighting that. Just as a reminder to all our institutes, UGC very clearly mandates, and so does AICTE and other regulatory bodies, that one institute should have a disability support center or a cell that becomes the nodal office for assessing that what accommodation is needed by students with disability, to act as the grievance cell, and then that becomes the center for decentralizing all the communication to the rest of the faculty members departments, so it does not become very, very overwhelming for a student with disability to run pillar to post, to be able to first talk about their need and then talk about which policy allows them to have that particular accommodation. So I think it's a mandate and we should work towards taking it away. And there's no need to focus on starting big. Even a nodal officer can sort of play that role, and then you can start focusing on converting it into a larger cell or an office of disability support. A lot of our institutes are already doing that, and it has really turned around in terms of also letting your faculty be prepared for a student and the needs of the students with disability in the classroom. So thank you for highlighting that. That is very important. I think the last question to you would be that what is it as a suggestion that you would want to give to the faculties, the teaching faculties in a classroom when they are teaching in a classroom with students with disabilities, especially SLDs. Uh, what is one suggestion or a takeaway that you can give them as a student?
Um, I don't get any classroom support in my college. So we're a batch of 250 girls almost. I feel I can understand, especially in larger batches or institutes like medicine where there are there are a lot of students. You cannot give extra time to a certain child, but I feel the it should always be open. Like you should always be open or make the child comfortable that if they have certain lacunae and they cannot understand certain things, uh, you can probably take out extra time, 15 minutes during the week, so that they can come and talk to you about what they are facing. And um, I like in school, it was a huge transition for me because in school I had classroom support, and coming into university I had no support. And I think obviously you learn. I'm in my third year, so it's much better now. I've become very used to it. But in my first year, it was very difficult because jumping into like already academically, it's a very difficult profession, like a difficult professional degree to be in, and you have no support, or there's nobody there to um, fill in the gaps when you're not understanding anything. Obviously, I had people who were very helpful and they were very understanding, like my anatomy professor who helped me, who pushed me to getting extra time in the professional exam. She was very supportive and she really helped me out. But there is nobody, like who can like be the guiding light to the path. So if there is something like that which can help us, then
Thank you. I think that is one of the keys that when you transition from school, there's a lot of support academically that you get, especially in the classroom. And this is other than accommodation, this is the support we're talking about that you get throughout your academic journey. And that is something that we have to focus on because all the professional degrees are also not similar in nature. So I think that still is a journey that we need to build up on and strengthen. But nonetheless, it is very important, especially from a student's perspective, to get that support in the classroom. Uh, Thank you, Sohana. Thank you for giving us your time. And thank you so much for spearheading this entire thing as a champion, as a student champion for us. So we hope to keep on seeing you in more of our sessions as a panelist. Thank you for your time. We would move to the audience. We will open the house for any questions. If you want to put the questions in the chat, you are free to do that. We'll have next 5 minutes to address questions if we have any. We will put our email IDs in the chat as well. If this was a lot of information for us to grasp and we'll come up with questions as we follow on, you can send us your questions and we will share it with the panelists. And from our end, from ChangeInkk's end, we really would express our gratitude to COL-CEMCA as being a very, very, very supportive organization. We have collaborated on projects and it's been very positively overwhelming for us to have the experience, to have the support and experience from the seniors, especially Dr. Shajak. And over to you, sir, for the closure of the session. While sir is closing the session, giving his remarks, we'll put the email ID on the chat, and please feel free to send us any questions that you have and as and when they come, and if we can support you in any manner to strengthen your journey towards inclusion. Thank you from our end.
Thank you. Thank you, Aprajita. Thank you, Anishka and colleagues at ChangeInkk who joined us today. And my special thanks to Doctors Sampurna Guha, Ms. Suhana Bhutani, and Dr. A. Chidambaram, who have brought out very beautifully as to how institutionally they've been geared up towards providing support to persons with specific learning disabilities. And particularly the deliberations by Ms. Bhutani was very heartening as to how she had to basically struggle hard, but now how well she settled today in terms of pursuing her education. Ms. Suhana Bhutani, your story is, your live example is really an inspiration for all of us. And it was quite inspiring to see how Amity has been providing support as a university in terms of identifying, accommodating, and also providing all sorts of support services to learners with disabilities. And particularly from Dr. Chidambaram, we were able to learn as to what kind of governmental support that are available, including the residential support that he elaborated upon. And as mentioned by my colleague Aprajita, we have been working together as two organizations, ChangeInkk Foundation and the Commonwealth Educational Media Center for Asia. And it is only our desire to take this step that we had undertaken some time ago towards reaching out to all those institutions. And in India, there are, as I mentioned, quite a lot of institutions, 1,100 universities, and on their own, ChangeInkk Foundation through the Ministry of Education have reached out to quite a number of those. But I think it becomes very imperative for us to reach out to tier 2 cities, tier 3 cities, and Mofussil towns and colleges, affiliated colleges located in various, even rural areas in some cases. I think we need to really reach out, and it may not be that easy for us to do face-to-face programs, the kind that Amity would want to do for their own faculty members or institutions of that kind. But when it comes to reaching out to 1.5 million faculty members in our country, we need to take the assistance from technology. So we are hoping to do what we are attempting at doing is to begin with, come up with certain tutorials, which my colleague Aprajita would unveil tomorrow. But going forward, we would like to use those tutorials which could come handy for our faculty members to access, also find some solace, so taking efforts forward. Hoping that we would undertake. But we are also talking to the National Council for Education Research an online course. We are also hoping that tertiary education will come up with an online course which many of you access, which could also be faculty development program. How we could our efforts to the next Swayam Plus could be the main platform for any of our faculty members to access, and also the scores for completing the program. So we are thinking about not just a course experiences shared, as the way that today we heard from the three panelists, but we would also use multimedia techniques to demonstrate use cases and also exemplify some of those best practices. So this is our aim, this is our hope. And, at least this cohort that joined today, the very dedicated, handful of people who have joined today, we are keen to be in touch with you and to see how best we can support you going forward, and to the peer support Dr. Guha mentioned within Amity extend to the larger fraternity of higher education community. where together with ChangeInkk, we can create a kind of a platform where peer assist, peer support could also be offered to faculty members. So we have multiple ideas, but we can execute all this only when our partners in universities and colleges would come forward and ask us for the support that they need. The more you ask, would be. So with those few words, I'd like to once again thank all those who participated. And I would like to thank my colleagues at ChangeInkk Foundation for making this possible. COL-CEMCA, who worked hard to promote this event. The entire event captured live on YouTube, which will be promoted to many faculty members going forward. So all the deliberations made by Suhana Bhutani, Dr. Sampurna Guha, and Dr. Chidambaram, and my colleague Aprajita Singh would be very valuable for, you have some digital footprint that people would refer to and come forward asking for more support. So thank you again, Aprajita. Over to you.
Thank you so much, sir. And with this, we come to a closing. We have shared, I've shared my email ID on the chat. If there's anything further that we can help you with, there is a question that focuses on that what are the strategies to strengthen an institute when it comes to their inclusion journey. I think that's an entire process and will be unfair to just restrict you to an answer. But as sir suggested, we have collaborated with COL-CEMCA and we have created a tutorial, which to begin with is refreshing for us to understand that what would be the starting steps to move towards inclusion. And I think we will be sharing it with all the participants as well. So post that, we are more than available for you. You can always write to us and we can help you with your journey in the best of our capacities. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for being with us. And we request you to take ahead and celebrate this month with sharing journeys, keeping a tab on a lot of events that are happening around in terms of awareness building for specific learning disabilities. Thank you.
Aprajita, thank you so much. Thank you, Director COL-CEMCA, sir, for your wonderful motivation words. Thank you for bringing us on this platform. And just like Aprajita mentioned, the question which is there is on a larger scale. And a lot of inclusion practices are already happening, and inclusion needs to be consistent. So that is a very good point which Aprajita mentioned in the very beginning of the session. So with this, I would also like to thank once again COL-CEMCA and ChangeInkk for giving me a platform for discussing our experiences, and best wishes to all the participants. Let us celebrate diversity, let's accept and work harder to serve persons with disabilities in a better way. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Aprajita and COL-CEMCA for organizing the program. Thank you.